The stars outside the immense viewing windows sparkled like scattered jewels across the black silk of space. The massive chamber, floating in the heart of the Galactic Assembly Station, was alive with whispers and quiet shuffles. Hundreds of alien delegates, each one representing a civilization older than most human history, filled the hall. Tentacles, wings, scales, shimmering carapaces, and eyes that glowed in colors humans had no words for. Each species commanded attention with their presence. Among all of this, a young human princess walked down the central aisle, her posture firm, her steps steady. Her name was Princess Alara of Earth, and she carried herself with a calm dignity that seemed to contradict the nervous excitement of her human entourage. She was small compared to the towering aliens around her, her hands unarmed, her clothes simple yet elegant. The hall buzzed with anticipation, as if everyone were waiting to see if this newest member of the galactic community would survive the scrutiny of the ancient powers. Alara's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, but she kept her expression neutral. She reminded herself that she was not just a symbol of humanity, she was humanity's voice. Her grandfather, the former leader of Earth's Interstellar Council, had told her before departure. Remember, Alara, humans have one thing no other species has, our adaptability. It may seem small, but it is stronger than any weapon here. The princess walked to the front of the chamber, where the throne of Concord loomed. It was a massive, circular platform carved from a dark crystal that absorbed light and reflected it back in colors that no human eye could name. Sitting on the throne was the High Chancellor of the Concord, an enormous alien whose body seemed to shimmer between solid and vaporous form. Its voice resonated through the hall in a tone that was both musical and commanding. "Princess of the youngest member world," the Chancellor intoned, its voice echoing across the chamber. "You come to us as a representative of a fledgling species. The customs of the Concord require that new members acknowledge the precedents of older civilizations. You will bow before the throne, as is tradition." A soft murmur swept through the hall. Many delegates assumed the humans would comply quickly. After all, humanity was new, fragile, and inexperienced in galactic politics. They expected submission. Alara took a deep breath and lifted her chin. Her voice was calm, yet carried enough authority to silence the whispers. "I will not bow," she said simply. A sudden stillness fell over the chamber. Eyes of every shape and color turned to her. Tentacles froze midair, wings stopped fluttering, and scales shimmered with tension. For the first time in centuries, an untested species had openly defied the ceremonial rule of the Concord. The High Chancellor's voice rippled like thunder. "Explain yourself, Princess. You risk disrespecting all members of this assembly. Are you unaware of the consequences?" "I am aware," Alara replied. "But humanity does not bow to fear. We honor cooperation, yes, but submission is not our way. We wish to join the Concord as equals, not as subjects." The hall erupted in a mixture of gasps, clicks, and incomprehensible sounds. Some delegates seemed amused, others were offended, and a few leaned forward, curious. No one had spoken this way in 100 cycles. A large delegation of insectoid creatures whispered among themselves, their chittering high-pitched and fast. "Preposterous," one said. "Humans are young, inexperienced. They will learn their place." Alara felt a small thrill of pride, but she forced herself to remain composed. She had expected resistance. She had also expected that her words alone would not be enough to prove humanity's worth. The Chancellor's form rippled, shifting slightly as if considering how to respond. "Very well," it said finally. "You refuse to follow tradition. Then humanity shall be tested. The Concord values strength, wisdom, and resilience. These qualities will determine whether your species belongs here." A panel of holographic screens appeared around the chamber, each displaying the emblem of a different alien empire. Delegates muttered among themselves, discussing the trials that humanity would face. Alara watched carefully, noting that each trial was designed not just to challenge her species' abilities, but to expose weaknesses that older civilizations could exploit. Her aide, a human scholar named Lyran, whispered nervously, "Princess, these are not simple tests. Some of these civilizations have histories longer than the Earth itself. They could destroy us with one misstep." Alara shook her head. "That is why we will not rely on fear. We will rely on our minds, our cooperation, and our creativity. They do not understand humans yet. That is our advantage." The first trial was announced. It would be a demonstration of problem-solving under extreme conditions. A holographic simulation appeared, depicting a deserted planet with unstable terrain, unpredictable weather, and hostile native species. The task: establish a settlement that could sustain life for 1,000 cycles. Alien delegates whispered among themselves. Impossible for humans, one said. They will fail in hours. Alara's team began planning immediately. They divided tasks efficiently, combining human ingenuity with technology adapted from Earth's pioneering space programs. While the aliens assumed humans would rush and fail, the humans approached each problem step by step, improvising solutions as new challenges appeared. Hours passed in the simulation. The aliens watched, surprised. The humans adapted to sudden floods by constructing mobile habitats. When the native species attacked, humans used non-lethal strategies to divert them. Their settlement, though small, survived every test. By the end of the first trial, the chamber was quiet, then erupted into murmurs. The insectoid delegates hissed among themselves. They have survived by thinking differently. This is not strength as we know it, it is cunning. Alara bowed her head slightly, not to the throne, but in respect to her team. Good work, she said. They smiled. She could see their confidence growing. The second trial was announced, a diplomatic challenge. The humans were tasked with negotiating an agreement between two alien civilizations, with a history of conflict spanning centuries. Most species in the hall assumed humans would fail, either by offending the parties or by being manipulated. Alara approached this trial with patience. She listened carefully to each civilization's grievances, finding common ground where none was thought to exist. While the alien diplomats expected confrontation, Alara offered collaboration. She proposed solutions that acknowledged both sides' concerns without compromising human principles. The alien delegates were astonished. Not only had humans succeeded, they had done so without force, without deception, and without arrogance. They had leveraged empathy and reason, qualities often dismissed as weaknesses in galactic politics. As the second trial concluded, whispers turned to debates. Some species were impressed. Others worried that humanity's unconventional methods could disrupt the balance of power. The third trial loomed, the most difficult yet. It would be a test of endurance and resilience, designed to challenge every aspect of human capability. The hall grew tense as holographic images of treacherous asteroid fields, radioactive storms, and collapsing colonies appeared. Alara's heart raced, but she remained calm. She turned to her team. We cannot rely on what has worked before. We must observe, adapt, and act together, trust in each other, and we will endure. The trial began. Humans faced one obstacle after another, each more dangerous than the last. Yet time and again, they overcame challenges through quick thinking, cooperation, and ingenuity. The chamber watched in disbelief as humans not only survived, but thrived under conditions that would have destroyed other species. By the end of the day, the assembly was in awe. Princess Alara had not bowed, had not submitted, and had not relied on brute force. She had shown that humanity's strength lay in its adaptability, creativity, and unyielding spirit. The High Chancellor rose, its form shimmering like liquid crystal. Princess of Earth, it said, voice echoing through the hall, you have proven that your species is unlike any we have encountered. The trials are only beginning, but your first steps have made the galaxy take notice. Alara's chest swelled with quiet pride. She had stood without kneeling, spoken without fear, and acted without compromise. Humanity had earned its place, at least for now, not through weapons or intimidation, but through the courage to be itself. As she walked back to her team, aliens of all shapes and colors regarded her differently. Some with suspicion, others with admiration, and a few with curiosity that promised new alliances. Alara glanced out at the stars beyond the chamber windows. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and it would not bow. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. The trials had only begun, but the story of a human princess refusing to bend would ripple across the stars for centuries to come. The chamber had quieted after the first day of trials, but whispers still echoed through the Galactic Assembly Hall. Delegates from countless civilizations exchanged observations, their tones a mixture of caution, curiosity, and disbelief. Humans had survived the initial tests, not through brute strength, not through ancient wisdom, but through adaptability, cooperation, and clever problem-solving. For many older species, it was a shock. Princess Alara, however, knew the real challenge was yet to come. The first trials had shown her people could survive adversity, but the next set would test their ability to navigate the complex web of alien politics, deception, and ancient rivalries. She returned to her quarters aboard the station, a quiet room with walls that displayed the stars in motion. Her aide, Lyran, followed, carrying a tablet full of reports from the delegates' reactions. "Princess," Lyran said, voice low, "the older species are unsettled. Some are impressed, yes, but others are whispering that humans are dangerous. They say we act too differently. They cannot predict us." Alara smiled faintly. "That is exactly why they underestimate us. We are young, yes, but our unpredictability is an advantage. We do not follow old patterns because we have none. Every solution we make is new. That is something even the oldest civilizations cannot anticipate." Lyran nodded but still looked worried. "The next trials, they are not just physical. They are designed to trap us politically. If we misstep, it could be disastrous." Alara's eyes hardened with determination. "Then we will step carefully but with confidence. We will not bow. We will not compromise our values. Humanity will prove its place through skill and integrity, not fear." The second set of trials was announced the next morning. This time, it was a diplomatic challenge unlike anything humans had faced before. Two powerful empires, the Vorin and the Caliph, had been at odds for centuries. The conquered wanted a resolution, but the task was almost impossible. Negotiate a treaty that would end hostilities without favoring either side. Many species assumed that humans would fail, that they would either offend one party or be manipulated into submission. Alara studied the profiles of the two empires carefully. The Vorin were massive, insected creatures with segmented bodies and sharp mandibles. Their culture valued strength and decisive action above all. The Caliph, in contrast, were tall and thin, their translucent skin shimmering with inner light. They valued precision, patience, and strategy. Both civilizations had centuries of history, grudges, and pride to protect. The princess convened her team, which included humans with expertise in diplomacy, engineering, psychology, and interspecies law. They began to map the Vorin and Calith's strengths and weaknesses, searching for opportunities that would satisfy both parties. "Listen," Alara said firmly. "We will not force a solution. We will find common ground even if it is small. Our strength is that we see things differently. The other civilizations will assume we are weak because we are new. Let us use that." The first negotiation session began. The humans were seated between the Vorin and the Caliph, their small figures dwarfed by the massive halls and alien delegates. The Vorin demanded immediate recognition of their territorial claims, while the Caliph insisted on strict oversight and regulations. Each argument seemed irreconcilable. Alara spoke calmly. "Perhaps there is a solution that addresses both concerns," she said. "Instead of controlling the territory, we can create a shared zone where both parties contribute to governance, trade, and safety. Neither side loses control entirely, but both gain security and opportunity." The delegates paused. It was unusual for a species so new to suggest a compromise that did not directly challenge either party. The Vorin buzzed with tension, mandibles clicking. The Caliph's light pulses flickered in thought. Slowly, discussions shifted from confrontation to consideration. Over several cycles, humans mediated with patience, logic, and empathy. They listened to grievances, acknowledged historical pain, and proposed solutions that respected both cultures' values. At times, Alara herself had to step in, calmly reminding both sides that success depended not on pride but on collaboration. By the end of the session, a preliminary treaty had formed. The Vorin retained key regions, the Caliph gained administrative rights, and both empires agreed to establish a neutral council to oversee disputes. It was not perfect, but it was a start. The assembly murmured in astonishment. Humans had succeeded where centuries of rivalry had seemed insurmountable. Princess Alara had done what no one expected. She had balanced two ancient powers through reasoning and strategy alone. Even so, not all delegates were pleased. A few older species whispered warnings to one another. "This is dangerous," one said. "Humans think differently. That unpredictability could unravel the conquered's delicate balance." Alara, however, remained focused. She knew the true test was not just winning challenges, but surviving attempts to undermine her people. And that test arrived sooner than expected. A message arrived via the conquered's communication network, encrypted and urgent. one of the elder empires, the Dravans, known for their shadowy tactics and influence over interstellar politics, claimed that the humans had gained their advantages through secret manipulation, not merit. They called for an immediate review of humanity's performance, hinting at sanctions if evidence of unfair practices were found. Alara gathered her team. "We will not run," she said. "We will face this head-on. Transparency is our strength. If they accuse us falsely, we will prove them wrong." The review began with intense scrutiny. Holographic monitors displayed every move humans had made, from engineering solutions to negotiation strategies. The Dravans pointed out coincidences, suggested mistakes, and implied deception. Many delegates leaned forward, eager to see if the humans would crumble under pressure. Alara's calm voice carried through the chamber as she addressed each accusation. She explained every strategy, every choice, and every result, showing how human thinking, different but honest, had led to success. Her team provided evidence of collaboration, simulations, and independent reports confirming their methods. Slowly, skepticism began to shift into reluctant respect. The Dravans' influence could not hide the truth. Humans had succeeded through intelligence, cooperation, and creativity, not trickery. But Alara knew this was not enough. Some species still feared what they did not understand. She needed a bold move, a way to show that humanity's strength lay not in manipulation or force, but in ingenuity, adaptability, and integrity. The third trial of this series was announced, a challenge that combined diplomacy, strategy, and resourcefulness. Humans were tasked with leading a rescue mission on a remote, unstable planet, coordinating aid for multiple species caught in a natural disaster. The stakes were high. Failure would not only endanger lives, but also tarnish humanity's reputation. Alara and her team immediately organized a plan. They divided responsibilities among engineers, logisticians, and negotiators, ensuring that every decision balanced efficiency with compassion. Unlike other species that relied on brute power or pre-existing hierarchies, humans adapted their approach to the environment. The mission began. Storms raged, terrain collapsed, and the planet's unstable atmosphere tested every member of the human team. They deployed drones, mobile shelters, and environmental sensors, adjusting in real time as conditions shifted. When local alien populations resisted evacuation out of fear or mistrust, humans negotiated carefully, building trust through empathy rather than force. Hours passed. Each rescue operation succeeded not because humans were stronger, faster, or older than other species, but because they thought differently. They solved problems creatively, communicated clearly, and inspired cooperation among aliens who had been rivals for centuries. By the end of the trial, humans had evacuated all endangered populations, stabilized the settlements, and coordinated supply chains across multiple ecosystems. Delegates in the assembly watched in awe. Princess Alara had turned a disaster into a demonstration of humanity's unique strengths. The High Chancellor rose again, its form shimmering with approval. "Princess of Earth," it said, voice resonating through the chamber, "your people continue to surprise us. Not by strength or by cunning, but by their ability to think, adapt, and act together. The galaxy has taken note." Alara allowed herself a small, proud smile. She knew the trials were far from over, but each step brought humanity closer to recognition, respect, and equality. She had refused to bow, she had faced the galaxy's oldest powers, and she had shown that humanity was unlike any species the conquered had ever seen. As the humans returned to their quarters, delegates whispered among themselves in a mixture of admiration and concern. Some realized that underestimating humanity had been a grave mistake. Others feared that this young species could change the balance of power in ways no one fully understood. Alara stood by the window, looking out at the glittering stars. "We are only beginning," she whispered. "But humanity will show them who we are, not by fear, not by force, but by being ourselves." And in that moment, a quiet confidence settled over the young princess. She knew that the trials ahead would be harder, that some would seek to undermine them, and that the galaxy would test her in ways even she could not predict. But one thing was certain: humanity would endure, adapt, and rise. No one had expected a human princess to refuse to bow. But the galaxy would soon learn that humans did not bend. Not now. Not ever. The final day of the Concord's trials arrived with a quiet tension that stretched across the assembly chamber. Every species, from the tiniest insected diplomats to the massive, winged elders, had gathered to witness what many called the human reckoning. Princess Alara of Earth had already passed the first trials with ingenuity and diplomacy, but the last challenge would test not only humanity's skills, but its integrity, courage, and resilience under pressure. The High Chancellor's form shimmered at the center of the chamber. Its voice, both musical and commanding, echoed across the hall. Princess of Earth, your species has performed in ways that none expected. You have adapted, reasoned, and led. Yet now you face the ultimate test, a challenge that combines strategy, endurance, and leadership. Your decisions will be observed by every member of the Concord. Fail, and humanity may lose its place among us. Alara's heart beat steadily. She had expected this moment. She had known that the greatest trial was not simply surviving challenges. It was facing direct opposition from civilizations unwilling to see humans as equals. She glanced at her team. Humans trained in diplomacy, strategy, and engineering, all ready to act under her guidance. "We will succeed," she whispered to Lyran, her aide. "Not because we are stronger, but because we are human, and humans never give up." The challenge was revealed. A remote planet in the outer reaches of the Concord was suffering from multiple crises. A violent storm had struck, collapsing settlements and damaging critical infrastructure. Alien species were stranded, food supplies were low, and communications were broken. The Concord declared that the humans must coordinate a rescue mission, stabilize the planet, and establish a long-term recovery plan, all within a limited timeframe. The chamber erupted in whispers. Many species believed the humans would fail. The planet was chaotic, dangerous, and unfamiliar. Others observed silently, curious to see how this young species would handle a situation no older civilization had been forced to manage collectively. Alara stepped forward. "We will coordinate the rescue," she announced, her voice calm and confident. "We will ensure safety, restore order, and bring the species together. The solution will not rely on force, but on cooperation, intelligence, and understanding. Humanity has learned that these qualities are stronger than any weapon." The humans were deployed to the planet immediately. They split into teams, each responsible for a key aspect of the mission. Rescue operations, rebuilding infrastructure, managing supplies, and coordinating communication between alien groups. While other species might have focused on showing dominance or asserting control, the humans focused on listening, observing, and adapting to each problem as it arose. Storms raged across the planet, toppling structures and creating impassable terrain. Yet the humans responded with creativity. Mobile shelters were erected to protect stranded aliens. Drones scouted unstable regions, identifying safe paths. Emergency supplies were organized with efficiency that impressed even the most experienced alien logisticians. At one point, a group of stranded alien civilians refused to evacuate. They distrusted humans, fearing hidden motives or manipulation. Alara approached them personally, speaking through interpreters. "We are here to help," she said gently. "We do not take your land, your resources, or your freedom. We only wish to ensure that everyone survives and can rebuild." Slowly, trust was built. The aliens allowed themselves to be guided to safety. The humans had not forced compliance. They had earned cooperation through honesty and empathy. Meanwhile, other species in the assembly observed the events through holographic feeds. Some were astonished. Others grew uneasy, realizing that humans solved problems in ways they had never imagined. It was not strength that allowed humans to succeed. It was thinking differently, planning creatively, and acting with integrity. As the mission progressed, the planet's situation became even more complex. Resources were scarce, storms intensified, and conflicting interests among alien groups threatened to destabilize the recovery. The humans had to make difficult choices. Should they prioritize saving one settlement over another? Could they convince rival species to share scarce supplies? Alara addressed her team. "We cannot act alone. Every decision must consider the needs of all. We are not just rescuers. We are mediators, planners, and coordinators. If we divide or hesitate, everyone loses. But if we work together, we can succeed." Through a combination of careful negotiation, strategic resource allocation, and innovative engineering, the humans stabilized the most critical regions. Bridges were repaired, shelters rebuilt, and communication networks restored. Alien groups, initially suspicious of each other, began cooperating under human guidance. Back in the assembly chamber, delegates whispered in disbelief. Humanity, they realized, was not only surviving but excelling in conditions that would have overwhelmed older civilizations. The humans' ability to adapt, cooperate, and solve problems had shifted the perception of their place in the galaxy. However, the trial was not without its dangers. A faction of the Dravans, known for their cunning and influence, attempted to manipulate the situation. They spread false reports that humans were hoarding supplies and prioritizing certain groups unfairly. Some delegates began to question humanity's methods, suggesting sanctions. Alara anticipated this. She gathered evidence of every action her team had taken. Detailed logs of supplies distributed, records of meetings with alien leaders, and proof of every decision made transparently. When the allegations were presented in the assembly, she calmly responded. Every action taken by humanity on this planet was done openly, with the goal of ensuring safety and fairness. We have not acted to favor one species over another. We have acted with integrity, as we always do. If there is doubt, examine the evidence. You will find truth, not manipulation. The chamber fell silent as the records were reviewed. Slowly, murmurs of approval began to spread. Even the Dravans' most loyal allies were forced to acknowledge the humans' honesty and effectiveness. The final step of the trial involved presenting a long-term plan for recovery. Alara proposed a collaborative council composed of representatives from all affected species, guided by humans in a neutral advisory role. The council would oversee rebuilding, resource allocation, and disaster prevention. It was a solution that respected every species' sovereignty while ensuring cooperation and stability. The High Chancellor rose once more. Its form shimmered, reflecting the lights of the chamber. "Princess of Earth," it said, voice resonant and clear, "you have demonstrated qualities that no other species has shown in the history of the conquered. You have acted with courage, intelligence, and integrity. You have shown that humanity's strength is not in weapons or age, but in ingenuity, adaptability, and cooperation. The conquered recognizes humanity as an equal member." The chamber erupted in sound, some clapping, some chittering, some deep hums of approval. Even the most skeptical species could no longer deny that humans had earned their place. Alara allowed herself a small, triumphant smile. She had not bowed, she had not compromised, and she had not acted against her values. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, not as a subordinate but as an equal. Delegates approached her, offering congratulations, questions, and alliances. Some younger species, inspired by the humans' methods, asked to study their strategies. Older species, once dismissive, now regarded humans with cautious respect. As she returned to her quarters, Lyran walked beside her. "Princess, you did it. You changed the way the galaxy sees us." Alara looked out the window at the endless stars. "We have only begun." There will always be challenges, new civilizations, and unexpected trials. But humanity will face them with the same determination we showed here. We do not bow, we do not yield. We adapt, we learn, and we rise. The stars seemed to sparkle more brightly, reflecting the quiet confidence of a species that had finally claimed its place among the stars. Humanity had proven that even a single voice, when guided by courage and wisdom, could change the course of the galaxy. The princess walked through the halls one last time before leaving the assembly chamber. She did not bow, she did not kneel. She walked with dignity, the symbol of a human spirit that refused to submit. And as she passed among the delegates, aliens of every shape and color watched her. Some with awe, some with curiosity, some with newfound respect. A young species, small and untested, had altered the traditions of the oldest civilizations through one simple truth. Humans do not surrender their dignity. The story of Princess Alara and humanity's rise among the stars would be told for generations. Not because they had weapons, not because they had power, but because they had courage, intelligence, and the refusal to bow. In the heart of the Galactic Assembly, under the watchful eyes of 1,000 civilizations, the human princess had planted a seed. A seed that would grow into a legacy of ingenuity, resilience, and equality among the stars. And thus, humanity had arrived, not as guests, not as supplicants, but as equals. The stars outside the chamber sparkled in silent approval, and somewhere deep in the galaxy, A new era had begun.